Welcome to CPR Saved My Life. Here we share real stories of survival, resilience, and the power of CPR. But remember, I'm a CPR instructor, a paramedic, and a heart health advocate, not a doctor. This show is for education and awareness, not medical advice. Always consult your healthcare provider for medical concerns. Now, let's get into today's inspiring story. Welcome to CPR Saved My Life. This is a show where we share the incredible stories of those who have beaten the odds after sudden cardiac arrest. I'm Medic Manny, and in every episode, we're going to bring you powerful stories about the importance of CPR, AED awareness, and heart health. These stories highlight the life-saving impact of quick action and trained responders. Today, I am honored to have my good friend, Rob Hoadley, with us. Rob's an advocate, volunteer, keynote speaker, U.S. Navy veteran, and survivor extraordinaire. He's just an all-around good human, and I'm excited to talk to him today. Hi, Rob.
Hey, Manny, how are you? How's everybody doing?
We are doing good.
Oh,
I'm so
hey,
excited.
shout out to the other Manny, too. You're both Manny number one for me.
The other Manny behind the camera.
That's the one.
Oh, gosh. Well, thanks for being here with us. I appreciate you. We've gotten to know each other really well over the last almost a year. Actually, a few years. We've been in the circle and the orbit with each other,
Right.
and we did spend some quality time together on a trip. We'll talk about it a little bit later. But
Well,
let's get started.
that's quite the tease, man. Yeah, pause. We can
We call that, what do we call that in the biz?
a teaser.
A teaser. That was a
Sizzle.
teaser.
Yeah.
Stay
Anyway.
tuned till the end.
Please stay tuned for the explanation on that, please.
All right, Rob.
My wife would love to hear the explanation on that at the end. Thank you.
Oh my gosh. Well, make her watch and make sure she stays till the end. Well, let's talk about it, Rob. Rob is a cardiac arrest survivor. He's kind of a zombie at this point by the amount of times his heart has stopped and come back. He's kind of like Superman, Man of Steel. But Rob, I want to talk to you today about your events, I should say. And so walk us through the first time it happened. What do you remember, if anything, and kind of lead us into your stories of survival.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, all right. The floor is mine. Check this out.
The floor is yours.
So let's see. So leading up to this, I mean, it's a longer story, so I'm just going to jump right to the close part of it. I'm a Navy veteran, like you pointed out. I was looking for a purpose in my life, and I actually went to Disneyland. Like, there's some Disney stuff behind us.
I see Mickey Mouse.
And we went to Disneyland, and on September 11th of 2010, I watched them retire colors at the end of Main Street. They do that at the end of the day at 5 o'clock every day. I don't know. Some people see it, some don't. But it's a really special thing for me, being a veteran and a patriot. And if I'm in the area, I'm like, yo, everybody, I'm going to go watch that. You can come if you want. You don't have to. But we went down there, and since it was September 11th, it was Patriot Day. And instead of the normal Mickey Mouse band, the Disneyland band, they actually had an all forces band came down Main Street. And that sound, man, is just so powerful when the military bands come in and play. And they went all around the flagpole on Main Street, and everybody circled around the flagpole and started, the announcer was like, as you hear the anthem of your service, please surround the flagpole with your fellow veterans.
You do that so good.
Well, thank you. No, you saw I'm a keynote speaker, dog. I mean, okay. So we did that, man. And I'm going to tell you, there were people There were people there that were legitimately, you could tell, were fresh out of boot camp. And there were people there from the Korean War and World War II. And I'm like, my goodness. And it was just nobody had a dry eye. It was very impactful. And typically I'll be moved by that kind of stuff, and then I can usually come back from it pretty quickly. But this time it just hung on to me, and here I am in the happiest place on earth, and I'm still dragging halfway through the day, and my wife's like, okay, what's going on, man? What's happening? And I'm like, yo, well, babe, I got to go back. She's like, what? I was like, no, I need to go back in the Navy. And she was like, fine. Obviously, this isn't going away. And if they'll have you, go. And so, wow, I was like, oh, snap. And so now it's in my court, right? So I'm like, okay, so I'm training now. This is leading somewhere, I promise. So I start training immediately after leaving there. I turned down the second churro and everything. And I start training, and I'm training and I'm working out all the time like a madman. And so I'm training, and I pass the physical readiness test with the Navy Reserve officer, like the entry program. So I had completed my MBA, so I want to go into the reserves as an officer. And with a business degree, then you go in as a logistics officer. That's how that plays out. Nice. So I'm training, I'm working out. And so it comes to April of 2011. So from September all the way around to 2011, April now, I had passed the PRT. I had passed all of my psych eval and the evals with 04 and above people saying, yes, we'd like him to come work with us, kind of thing. And I was just waiting.
I mean, that's not easy to do. I mean,
no,
that is a good accomplishment, especially health-wise.
Yeah, and man, I'm gonna tell you, man, it was my dream. Like, it was my focus, my passion, my vision. It's what I wanted to do. And then I was ready. I was just waiting until October, because in October is when they bring in all the new reserve officers. They do it once a year. And so I'm waiting. It's April 1st, 2011. I go work out with my trainer in the morning. Have a great workout. Best mile and a half time of my life was that morning. And then a mile and a half is actually the length you have to run for the physical readiness test for the Navy. Okay. That's why the mile and a half is significant. But then, so I leave training with him. I go over and go home, pick up my daughter, and take her to the bus stop, because she gets on a bus to go to a performing arts school. And it's about 6 a.m. now. And so we have a very one-sided conversation about college applications and financial aid applications, and and how she hasn't really done what she really needs to get done. And she just looked at me and was like, Dad, come on, it's not that big a deal. And I'm like, bro, like, so it's a big deal. I know it's a big deal, but she at that, like, her limited scope. Yeah. So her limited scope didn't really have that perspective. And I regrettably, embarrassingly said some things to her to motivate her out of my truck and to get onto the school bus. And in a way, and I'm not going to tell you what I said, because nobody should ever say these things to your daughter, right? But I said some things that I wish I never would have said. And so she got out of the truck and walked angrily to the bus stop, and then drove away. And I went to work. So I went to work, and now I get to work, and I'm fired up because of the conversation we just had. I didn't really start my day off really well. I'm trying to get myself straight, and I'm good. And then I get a call from our executive vice president. I'm working at a hotel in San Diego, and we're going through a remodel of a marina, like off the back of the hotel that's on the water. And there's a marina that we're redoing. I'm the project manager for that. I'm working with our construction team and my construction manager for that. And
you've done it all, Rob.
They call me up and they say, hey, man, we need you to come meet with us. We want to see if we're going to pay out our general contractor, or we're going to pay Dennis. And I'm like, oh, sweet. Now, Manny, this is one of those meetings where I was ready. Like, I had the file. I got ready for this meeting. I'm like, my gosh, I don't even remember how many times I'm actually ready for a meeting like this. But he's like, come down here. I'm like, all right, right on. So I meet him down in this room. We're overlooking the marina and the place we just fixed. And my construction manager's there and my executive vice president's there. And I walk in and they ask me a question. They ask me a question that I feel has a 3-part answer, right? So I'm like, okay, first off, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, second, and when I hit my finger, my middle finger right here, which I haven't done in 5,079 days, when I hit my finger, I died.
Wow. Oh, that's the last thing you remember?
Yeah. And so according to reports, right?
This is from this on is everything that people probably told you.
Have told me, yeah. And thank God my construction manager, Thomas John Farley, is very detailed, and he's retired now, but he's just an amazing, amazing human. And he said, well, like, you just fell forward, and he caught me with his forearm by my throat, so I didn't hit my face on his computer. I was standing, he was sitting, right? And oh, I forgot to tell you, it was April 1st. It wasn't just April; it was April Fool's Day.
Oh, this is April
and I'm
Fool's
an actor, right? Like, you can see the theater award right here. So I'm a performer. He's like, oh, and and they're like, come on. And then I started to seize, like have some sort of seizure activity, which I don't remember again. But that's when they were like, oh snap, this is real. And so Tom, thinking quickly, he said, Rob, I put you on the ground as softly as I could.
Was
right?
it just the two of you?
Yeah, it was just
point?
it was the 3 of us, right? So there's the executive VP, there was Tom, and then there was me. And the executive VP's name is David Cherishore. I just want to make sure that name is out there in the universe also, because he's the guy that called 911. But Tom put me on the ground and started bystander CPR immediately. And he started CPR that he learned when he was 11 years old in summer camp.
Great, people can do it. Yeah.
And he was 52 when he did this for me. There were no lessons in between. So he wasn't carrying around the snazzy card that says he was CPR certified, right? Sorry, that's, I know it's your business, but
we don't really use cards anymore.
Look, I wasn't like, hey, Tom, do you have a card? You could save my life now if you have a card. None of that. But anyway, so he's on there. He's on my chest immediately. Bop, bop, bop. And he does that continuously for 7.5 minutes by himself.
And so it's important for people just to understand, for every minute that goes by, your chances of survival are going to drop by about 10%.
That's right.
And so, at that point, we're looking at a 50 to 70% chance of survival gone. And, time in these situations is very important.
Well, it gets better. Check this out. So he does it for 7.5 minutes, and EMS arrives, right? EMS shows up, station number 20, right by Home Depot, and here in Point Loma. And and they were awesome, and they came in, and I have pictures of it all. We didn't set that up, but so somebody took pictures of my whole event. My whole rescue is...
Yeah, get those to me. We'll put them up.
Yeah, Doc. Okay, and so they shocked me. They end up shocking me 5 times before I get to the hospital, right? So they got Ross back in the hotel.
And just some perspective, the 5 shocks, each one is like converting your heart back to normal. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't on the first time. And so, it took 5 times in this first instance.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because I appreciate you interjecting that perspective, because the fact is, people think that defibrillation, when you shock somebody, that it restarts your heart, and that's not exactly what happens. What happens is your heart is shaking like this, and then when you shock it, it actually stops your heart, so that your heart and your brain can get together and say, "Yo, dog, we need you to keep beating." And so then the electrical
impulses,
it's like
resetting your computer or resetting some type of electronic.
Yeah, and the electrical impulses in your heart and your brain connect to get that going again. But that defibrillation actually stops it from shaking like that. But there's something still there that made my heart continue to go into this ventricular fibrillation rhythm. And, and because of that, every time you get shocked, your chance of survival drops another 10%. Every time you get shocked, because there's something still there inherently wrong that hasn't been corrected. And so it was 8 minutes when I got my first shock. So that's a 20% chance of survival based on what you said, the 10% each minute. And then with the 5 shocks, I'm rolling into the ER at about a negative 30% chance of survival.
How far were you at that point from an emergency room?
10 miles, I think.
Okay.
I think 5 miles, 10, from Mission Bay to Hillcrest. So I don't know if that's 10 miles.
Sure. I mean, it's definitely about a 10-minute drive or so.
It's a ways. Yeah, it's a ways. I mean, and they were, licensed sirens for sure.
Of course.
Hope. I mean, I was asleep. I
have to imagine just cruising.
I was dead, so I don't really know, and I love that you and I can talk about this and I can smile and kind of joke about it. There's a part of me right now that's freaking out. I just talking about this and going through this again. So some of the jokes I say, I don't want them to be misconstrued as, flippant or like whatever. It's
important we talk about this.
It's a mechanism that I use to keep me from just breaking down and crawling in a closet and not want to talk about anything. Right.
That's important.
So I just want to point that out.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So I get to the hospital. My boss calls my wife at work and says, "Hey, Rob's collapsed at work." She doesn't know why, but I really don't know what they told her to tell her to come to the hospital. It's just that Rob's been taken to the hospital and here's where it is. You should probably get there. Right.
She maybe had no idea.
Well, I'm sure she didn't. I'm sure she didn't because you don't just say, "Hey, your husband died at work." You should. He's there. They have him in absolute critical triage. Are you kidding me? Care right now. He may not make it. You should get there as fast as you can. Are you kidding me? You know how people are going to drive when they do that? Jesus. Anyway, so she makes it to the hospital safely, but she runs into the office. She works at a Lutheran preschool. And one of the guys that hears her say, "Hey, Rob's collapsed at work. It's really serious. I have to get to the hospital." One of the guys that hears her is a guy named Vicar Josh. So a vicar in the Lutheran faith is like a pastor in training or something.
Okay.
And so Vicar Josh, named Joshua Serrano, he has gone all the way through seminary and he's a pastor in Northern California now. Shout out Vicar Josh. But he follows my wife to the ER, right? And so he trails behind her a bit, but she's in there and doesn't really know what's going on. "Hey, I'm here to see Rob Hoadley, but he's back here. He's getting treated." And they're like, "Yeah, doctor will be out in a minute." So Vicar Josh shows up. A couple people from her work shows up. People from my work show up. And that's
it's okay. Take a minute. I mean, it's serious emotional
We're getting real.
Of course. And
like they say, for real, it's about to happen.
It's for real.
So the doctor comes out and says, "So are you Mrs. Hoadley?" And she's like, "Yeah." And so Vicar Josh has worn his collar and everything, and he's there, and he's praying his butt off, right? It's like, give him the wisdom, give him the strength, give Rob the strength to blah, blah, blah. And he doesn't even know really what he's praying for, just to get through it, right? But he's like, "Hey, so are you Mrs. Hoadley?" She said, "Yeah." And he said, "Is this your priest?" And she's like, "Yeah, sure. Whatever." "Okay, well, I need the two of you to come back." And she's like, "All right, well, let me grab my purse." And he's like, no, I need you to hear what I'm saying. I need you and your priest to come back."
Oh, gosh. How terrifying for your wife at that point. Not knowing anything and being able to be there for you, but at the same time, heartbreaking.
And confused and helpless and all those things, right? And so she walks into the room, and again, this is what I'm told, right?
Yeah, of course.
Because so she comes in and she's described the scene as there were like open packages on the ground, some fluid on the ground.
I've been in those scenes. There's stuff
I'm trying
everywhere.
I'm trying to paint it. Yeah, I'm trying to paint it for the viewer, for the listener. Yeah,
of course.
And it's a teaching hospital at UCSD Hillcrest. So there are like 7 or 8 docs in there on the periphery, right? Watching, looking, learning. But when she comes in and looks around, nobody will keep eye contact. They just drop their gaze as soon as she looks at them. And so she says, what's going on? And so the lead doc comes over and pulls his thing and says,
The moment, Rob, if you need to.
says, I'm sorry, Mrs. Hoadley. We did everything. We did everything we could. Beep, beep. Get her out of here.
So
they push her back out.
They're literally telling her that they're sorry she's passed away. And then you hear the beep.
And then, and my heart starts. And they push her back out into the waiting room. And now she's out there with people from our work communities, just our friends. Some people from our church have shown up. And, hey, is he okay? Is he going to be all right? What happened? What's going on? Can we go see him? And she has 3.2 million questions and no answers.
Nobody's answering anything.
And she still doesn't know why I collapsed.
Yes.
Yeah. So they work on me for more. So sorry.
No. What I was going to say is, we call it sudden cardiac arrest for a reason, because it happens suddenly. And, it's hard to have any answers. And, even when your heart does come back, I've been in the emergency room where, we're resuscitating and we get pulses back, they go away. We get pulses back, they go away. So there's uncertainty always, and even afterwards.
Yeah, I have way, way, way more respect for those people, like on Chicago Med or on Grey's Anatomy, and you see them bust through the ER doors with that gurney, and the medic says, these are the vitals, blah, 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 got hit by a truck or whatever, went unresponsive, started CPR 10 minutes ago. Here you go. And now you're the doc or the nurse, and you're like, what the hell? And now you got to totally figure out this puzzle, this mystery. You're like, why the hell is this happening to this person? I mean, if it's a gunshot, it's like, okay, you got shot. Duh. Let's do that. But like this.
Follow the trail. This is completely unknown. There's so many, we call it in the healthcare field, when we're trying to figure out what could possibly be causing this.
Yeah.
We start to go down a list, because there's so many things that could lead you into cardiac arrest. People always associate it with a heart attack, and that can be the case.
Sure.
But it so many things, and I tell people all the time, so many things cause chest pain. So many things can cause cardiac arrest, not just a heart problem.
No, and so just to answer a question that might be out there already, they still don't know why. It's still idiopathic. I had no family history, no personal history. I was in the best shape of my life at the time. Yeah. And that's actually one of the components that saved my life, was being in good shape, being in good heart health at the time, being in good cardiovascular health. They work on me for another 45 minutes or so and get me to where they think I'm stable enough to get up to the cardiac critical care unit, which, I mean, that's an improvement, right? Get up to the cardiac critical care unit. Like, wow.
It's a good place to be.
Yeah, you must have been in a bad...
It definitely is a step in the right direction.
Yeah, it must have been really bad to graduate to that, right?
But moving forward.
Yeah, so P.S., it's on the 10th floor, right? And they're worried about putting me in the elevator. And I'm like, who the hell put it on the 10th floor? I mean, put the dudes that need a cast on the 10th floor, man. I mean, not me. What the hell are you doing? Anyway, that's for them to figure out. But they finally got me up there. Now I'm up in the critical care unit. The waiting room is filling up, and
of course, word's getting out about what's happening, even though there's no answers.
Yeah, people are getting off of work and getting over there to help, support my wife and kids. And kids got to get picked up from school. And anyway, so it's so now I'm in a medically induced coma and targeted temperature management. So they've dropped my temperature of my body to reduce the trauma in the different parts of my brain.
Yeah,
that have
we're
been
trying to make
affected.
sure that he can, open his eyes and eat and think and drink and live his life neurologically intact again.
Yeah, because we're already fighting uphill against 8 minutes anoxic, right? Eight minutes without oxygen to my
No
brain,
oxygen.
with except for just the CPR I got, which is not enough to sustain life.
No, it's
You
it's good
you
enough to
can
keep things going, but not enough to.
yeah, but not forever for sure. And but no, we're at an 8 minute anoxic event already, and trying to slow the damage to other parts of my body. Uh, so I'm like that for 4 days. I'm in a coma for 4 days,
You don't remember
and
any of this.
none of it, none of it. There's nothing. It's just blank. It's blank. And the more I try to go back to remember that meeting that I told you about in the beginning, I don't really remember anything after picking up the file folder to say I'm going down to this meeting because I'm ready. And
Ugh,
I think
you
it
give
was
me
just,
chills when you say that because it's just what a scary feeling.
yeah, 4 days are just gone, man. And it's just, I remember it was such an overwhelming feeling that I was ready for this meeting. And the two people I was going to meet with, I respect them so much that I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to come down there and I'm going to really show out because I'm ready, man. I'm ready.
You
And
were ready. You were
it was
ready.
important for me, and I
You
think
were
that's
ready, but
why,
life said, "Hold
yeah,
on."
snap, no. And, and I'm going to get into that in a second because it's a very important thing to realize that, but I was ready. And I think that's why I remember up to that point because I had such a big feeling about being ready.
You were on a
But,
high. Like,
and you mentioned that, and there were some people that said, you shouldn't be going back in the Navy. You shouldn't be doing that. You're too old. Don't do that. I was 41 at the time. I could still go in and retire. I still had enough time because of prior service, right? And the shape I was in, like the young kids were not going to run around me. I'll tell you that. I was 10 feet tall and bulletproof, as they say.
of course.
And, but there was just something in my gut that I couldn't discern. Like, was it the difficulty of the task or was it really something I shouldn't be doing? But something was telling me that there was something happening, right? In my stomach, not in my heart. I had no symptoms of any kind up until that point. My heart wasn't palpitating when I ran, when I worked out, nothing. None
Nothing.
of it.
How was your stress levels and stuff
It
at
was
that point?
fantastic. I was ready for the meeting. We were finishing that project. My wife was great. My house was great. My kids were great. I mean,
You were on top of the world.
except for like the actual normal age appropriate transition from high school to college, right? That's to be expected. So it wasn't over the top anywhere, but everything else was going fine. Our job was great. It was great. But then it wasn't.
Until it wasn't.
But, and I say, and when I say, life just said, no, we're not going to do that now. You just said that, but in our house, we call that a God smack, right? It's like, hey man, I need you to get back on the path. Yeah. Hey, brother. I mean, yeah, you're not doing what I need. Hey, okay,
we,
here.
we,
How's
we
how's
stray
that?
away.
How's that? Is that good? All right, now. And I'm going to tell you this, Manny. I hope the recording really makes this come through, man. But um, it's like God reached out and grabbed my heart out of my body and looked at me. And while it was still beating, he's just massaging it and saying, you know what? I'm going to take this life that I gave you and I'm going to hang on to it just for a little bit. No, until it's suitably uncomfortable for everybody. Now I'm going to give it back to you. Now you have it again. There's no debt to repay. There's no balance due. There's no restocking fee. But what I do need you to do, I need you now to really respect it. Really think about how you're going to use it. Okay? Thank you. Have a good day.
Such perspective.
Okay.
When something like this happens, on what life really means.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a commercial out right now that says the key to being rich is to recognize what matters.
Yeah.
So now I'm laying in a coma. Everybody's going through it. And I want it to be super clear that at this point, it is all my wife's story. It is all my kids
someone else.
And my family's story. Because I'm, in all intents and purposes, I'm asleep.
And
I don't know any of this.
At that point, you had that one incident where you coded. Coded is what we call it in like a code blue.
But coded 5 times, right?
Yeah, so you coded 5 times. They brought you back, and then you got to critical care, and that's where you spent the 4 days after that.
In a coma,
Was there any reoccurrences within those first 4 days?
Not that I know of. Okay, so so that was 4 days in a coma. It was 13 days total in the hospital because I had some amazing people come visit me in the hospital. It was incredible how weak I got during that time, during that
being
4 days.
So strong to weak.
I mean, and I'm glad you put it that way, but yeah, it was incredible because one of the, you can, there's anybody that's been in the hospital for any period of time, they want to guard against pneumonia, right? So they want to make sure that you're breathing deep and heavy and exhaling really well. And so they give you this little plastic tube with a little mouthpiece, and you have, inside is this little yellow disc, and you have to blow. You have to blow this thing up to a certain level and hold it. And, okay.
It's like a strengthening exercise.
Blow. Okay. Yeah, well, dig this, man. When they first gave it to me, I couldn't even hold the tube up, man. I couldn't even hold the plastic tube up. And then my wife tried to dive in and help me, and the nurse was like, no, he has to do it by himself. And everybody looked at her. Oh my gosh, they were so mad at her, dude. I was like, do not attack the nurse, okay?
It's important for you at that point to,
they cleared the room. They had to clear the room and let me do it myself. It was one of the most humbling experiences of my life. It's this little freaking plastic tube, dude. It's not even nowhere near a pound.
It looks like a kid's toy.
100%.
It looks like a little kid's toy.
But I'm going to tell you, it was whooping my ass. And I was like, wow. So anyway, meanwhile, back at the ranch, everybody's out there thinking, oh my God, he's alive. And it was incredible. I got incredible care. I want to go back to the title of your show that says CPR Saved My Life, and it's 100% true. I don't want to gloss over the fact that it was immediate, bystander, hands-only CPR that saved my life. Okay, let's get real. My first access to defibrillation was at 8 minutes. Without that CPR, we're not talking. Statistically.
And your chances of successfully defibrillating are going to diminish very rapidly over time.
100%. Yeah.
But CPR actually helps open up that window of opportunity.
That's
too.
Right. That's right. It extends your heart to stay in a space where it can actively be defibrillated. Which, a lot of people don't know. That's why you do 2 minutes of CPR, so that you can prime your circulatory system and your heart so it has enough oxygenated blood so it can be defibrillated. And that's,
wow, Rob, now you're stealing my lines.
Sorry, brother.
I'm just kidding. It's exactly true.
Look, when this happens to you, you start to learn a lot about it, man.
Well, of course,
you have to.
It's funny because that's one of my lines I'm saying from my CPR classes. I tell people that all the time because it's 100% true.
Yeah, see, so I'm not just a pretty face. I know stuff too.
You're so smart too.
Stop it. Okay, so here's the thing. So then I'm out of the hospital. I get out after 13 days. I have a implantable defibrillator in my chest. They come to me and they say, hey, do you want this? And I'm like, what? Yeah, man. Yeah.
You want it. The defibrillator is what they're
asking there was a choice. It's a choice. I was like, how's that a choice, bro? I mean, knock me out and do that right now.
You're like, I never want to do this again.
No, man. And I didn't even know what happened. Still.
Oh, wow. You're still unsure.
No, I mean, they explained it to me, right? The doc explained it to me, explained medically what happened to me, and I was sobbing like an idiot. And
before we go on, when you did wake up, was it a gradual process? Do you remember waking up and seeing somebody right away or hearing something right away?
Yeah, I was trying to kind of skip over that, but I actually woke up twice. Okay. I'll tell you. So the first time, I came out of the coma like against the medication. Like I woke up before they wanted me to.
Sure.
And then there was a nurse. I remember the nurse standing there with a clipboard. And she looked at me and we caught eyes and she just like, oh, she was gone. Gone.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Gone because
like
she
ran
had
out
to
of the
go
room.
get somebody. Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
ran out of the room to go get the doc, right? So her and the doc come running back in the room. And doc says, I'm still intubated, everything, right?
And that's the problem with waking up without when you're not ready, because you have the tubes, you have everything down and keeping you alive at that point. So
I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
Mm-hmm.
So he says, so hi. And he looks like flips a page like, hi, Robert. And I hear my brother say, oh no, his name is Rob. Oh, hi. Okay, Rob. I'm like, oh snap, Sean's here. All right.
Heard him.
And then and he comes around and he says, hey Rob, can you squeeze my finger with your right hand? And I'm like, yeah, man. So they're checking for motor skills, to see if that part of my brain got jacked up during the anoxic event. And then, and I do, right? And I had this physical when I played football too, like you squeeze, whatever, blah, blah, blah.
Sure.
So then he's like, okay. And I anticipate the next thing. You're coming to my left hand, shipmate. All right, come on over. And he's like, okay, can you squeeze my finger with your left hand? I'm like, yeah, bam, bam, bam. And I'm squeezing, and he said, come on, man, one time. I'm like, what? And I hear my sister start to cry.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh, Dawn's here. So I'm squeezing again, harder now. And he says, come on, man, all I need is one. And I'm like, oh shit. Sean's here from Chicago. Dawn's here from Arizona. Like, here is clearly a hospital. And I think I'm squeezing this guy's finger, and I'm not.
And you're not. In your mind, you are.
Huh.
You're trying to. There's a
and
disconnect.
So Manny, with my Gulf War PTSD, I have experienced the physiological feelings I get when I know that it's getting bad. Is like my body will start to heat up. It kind of starts at like my feet and goes up like a thermometer, kind of. And I have different techniques and tools that I use to keep it down. Because like if it got to my face, I'd like be on the news. I think something would happen. And but I can feel it really rapidly. Like it went straight from my knees to like my hips, and I'm like, oh no, I'm really freaking. I mean, I can feel my heart racing. I can feel like jittery. I'm short. My breath is really short and scattered, and I'm like, oh man. And I'm like, oh, you know what? You know who would know what's going on is my wife. So I try to call for my wife. And those of you out there in Radio Land, if you're ever intubated, which I don't recommend, do not try to talk while you're intubated. Because if it hurts bad.
It's a tube to your vocal cord.
It hurts so bad. And that pain and the unsureness and the helplessness and the fear, I went back out. I went back into a coma. And my brother
woke up for a period and then
and then went back. And then my brother said that the doctor, I mean, I don't know what the rating is on this show or not, but you can cut this out if you want. But the doctor was like, oh, just as a burp kind of a reaction. And then he and the nurse kind of consulted and said, we'll be right back. And
I know that feeling as a
now we're right back. Now we're right back into where I was before. My wife had already been talked into going home to get a shower because she had been at the hospital for like 4 days, change your clothes, get some good sleep in your own bed thing.
Because your family's also trying to take care of everybody.
Yeah, we'll call you. And so as soon as I woke up, my sister had called my wife, said, get down here. So my wife and my father-in-law get back, and the doctor meets her at the doors of the CCU and says, we need to talk. She says, no, I need to see my husband. He's awake. It's like, well, no, we need to talk. Your husband regained consciousness momentarily. He had some motor deficit on his left side. We were unable to fully assess that. If your husband wakes back up, he may not be able to care for himself. You should start thinking about alternative care.
She probably got so excited because you were awake, and then
Can you imagine that descent from that excitement to you should start thinking about alternative care. You talked earlier about being so strong to them being so weak. And the idea of her needing to care for me is something she hadn't had to navigate.
I mean, you were healthy, you were, doing lots of things.
That contrast, that paradox is something that I don't think anybody could ever be prepared for. Right. Anyway, so she comes in and she checks me out, and I'm clearly back where I was. And then she disappears for like 2 hours to be on her own by herself. And she comes back, and she has a nurse get the doc, and they come in, and she's like, all right, are these the numbers that like it was when he woke up before? Is this how, he's stable? Everything's good right now? But this is how it was when he woke up, right? They're like, well, yeah. She said, okay, well, bring him out, wake him up. Like, no, ma'am, what we're going to do is we're going to wait. We're going to wait a couple of days. And then no, we're not. No, we're not. If I'm going to start thinking about alternative care, we're going to start that today. Wake him up.
And that's because you're in the medical induced coma at this point. So they reverse the medicine.
But there's a protocol, right? And so you ease off and ease off and ease off, and you bring him back slowly. Okay. Which is a good thing, because I don't wake up well because of PTSD stuff. So if you startle me awake, it's a mess. But they wake me up, man. And this is another piece of the miraculous interwoven tapestry that is my life now. They slowly bring me back. They wake me up. They extubate me, which is a word that I didn't know. Extubate. Like, everybody knows what intubate means, but what does it mean when they pull the tube out? I mean, it's extubate, just so everybody knows. Educational show, Manny. Nice work.
We're doing lots of education.
So, all right. So now the doctors had listened to my wife and backed me off of the medication, and now I was awake. I was extubated, and you asked this question earlier, the first person I actually saw was Tom Farley, the guy that did CPR on me.
Oh, okay.
And my first words were, shouldn't you be at work? And, but like I said in the beginning, these jokes that I tell are really a defense mechanism. And like, I didn't know where the hell I was, what was going on, nothing. And so my first word out was a joke, right? And that's how they knew I was okay.
That's very Rob of you.
But then, 100%, totally on brand, right? But then the important piece of that is I had no motor deficit on my left side, and I stood up and walked 212 feet to my next room.
What?
And the doctor's reaction was even bigger than yours right now. He was like,
what just happened?
He's like, no,
this is not real life.
He's like, so, like in the book, like when you read about cardiac arrest, but like in school, when they teach us about this, it's like, look, Rob, I've been doing this 23 years, man.
Left him speechless.
I've never seen anything like that. And of course, again, on brand, I was like, so, well, you've met my wife, right? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, well, when my wife says to wake up, you wake up. That's how that goes. He's like, yeah, I suppose so, man. I suppose so.
I mean, you're jumping up and getting out of your bed, but you're not 100%.
Oh,
Of
I'm
course,
not even
you could
close,
fall
dude.
easily.
Oh my God, I'm not 100%. So, but then I'm in there and I get what was interesting is, I mean, there's a bunch of little things I could talk about, but it would take all year. But, but then they decide to put the ICD in my chest, which, was a godsend. Anybody listen to this that's struggling with that decision of whether to do that or not, do it. Do
Yeah,
it now.
get the
Do it now. You want a
defibrillator.
second opinion? Here it is. Do it. So, anyway, and I'll believe me, stick around and you'll figure out why. They put in the ICD and then they waited a few days to let me go to make sure everything was chilling. But then I was out of the hospital. And so this all happened on April 1st of 2011. I was back to work in 30 days.
Wow, Rob. Oh my gosh.
Well, I was going
Wow, what an incredible story. Rob just took us through his first cardiac arrest experience, and if you thought that was intense, just wait. There's more to his journey, and we'll cover it all in part 2. So make sure you like, subscribe, and share this episode to help spread awareness about cardiac arrest survival and the power of CPR. And don't forget to join us for the next heart-stopping episode of CPR Saved My Life, where Rob shares the rest of his unbelievable story. You don't want to miss it. He's gonna die like 20 more times. So stay safe, learn CPR, and we'll see you next time.